Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Doctor Who Season 10, Episode 8. It's called The Lie of the Land. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So this sort of completes the trilogy that
Yes.
these past three episodes have been, with the monks, and set us into this world. Obviously, at the end of the last episode, Bill made the deal. We didn't really know what that would lead to, and we sort of kicked this one off. We're in this dystopian society. On top of that, the monks are, forgive the DC Comics reference, they are Doctor Manhattan the timeline and making it look like they've been there all along.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just this big regime of rules, but it's kind of a benevolent seeming.
It was feeling very XCOM 2 to me, actually. The static sort of signals coming up, and the idea they've put statues up of themselves around the world.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I was getting a lot of XCOM 2 vibes. Uh,
Joe was funny to me very early on. They talk about the idea of no, you can't speak out against this. You can't go, oh no, history's wrong. You have to, this is just it.
hmm,
And it's funny how obviously this is, that's the whole idea of sci-fi is dealing with these issues of the time. And Doctor Who has been less subtle at that recently than before, I think.
hmm.
And it was amusing to me, this one particular, because we just did the review for Planet of the Apes and we spoke about that theme, and that was 68. And, here it is 4 years later, 50 years later, whatever it is. 50.
50 next
I,
year.
I know. I was just trying to think. And it's like, really, still.
Yep, yep, that's there. There's a lot of things that were really cracking me up, such as Nardole referring to himself as Nardi when he showed up. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, Nardi. Yeah, that'll catch on. Uh,
That is the epitome of a guy trying to give himself a nickname.
I know, I know. And then she's excited to see him, so she punches him in the arm, and it hurts. And there's this running gag throughout the episode where she does it a couple of times. Like, oh, that needs to stop. And then later on, when the whole ruse has been revealed, she turns around like, "You're involved in this?" Like, yeah. It's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Like, she basically. It was just that was a
She
really funny
she
gag.
basically says that as well.
I
Like they
know.
hide it, but I wasn't sure if she said it and it's just muffled in there, or did they? I wasn't entirely sure. They hid it really well.
They had it to a point, but it was really clear that she said, "I'm going to beat the shit out of you."
It was because it's obviously that's not the first time they've done that this season. They did it a few episodes in, but they cut away. But this was like I'm sure they actually had it in there, just in muffled under everything else.
So that was fun. There was a lot of funny bits as well. Missy had a couple of good lines about, "Oh, this is awkward," when when it turned out Bill was the sort of the sacrifice that needed to be
Yeah,
made, and stuff like that. Or even Bill when she meets Missy, it's like, "You've got a woman and a trapped in a room. That's weird, even for me, and I've been chased by a puddle." Like, that was a pretty
yeah.
good line. So there was humour, but that's not the only thing to praise about the episode. I actually thought it was. I thought this trilogy has easily been the strongest part of the season, and I think this third one kind of rounded that out for me quite a bit. I thought I had a lot of great moments. I thought it's funny we complained about some of the music moments last week. I thought this hit the music notes a lot more in the head. I thought, so Bella and Nardo come and find the Doctor, and there's this whole thing where we think the Doctor's actually aligned himself with the monks, and she gives this speech and then shoots them, and that whole thing worked really well, both in terms of the acting and what she was saying, and the music. It all felt very big and
I think
grandiose.
that music there, I think that's the best it's been all season.
Yeah, no,
That
I agree.
moment.
There was another moment later on when they're all sort of prepping things that sounded quite good. And
Mm.
then what I really liked is I've complained a couple of times, and especially last week with
The
the
use
use
of
of the
the
main
theme.
theme, the
Yeah,
main theme being in a really good place. I loved its placement in this one because it wasn't the Doctor that triggered it; it was Bill.
yeah.
It was Bill fixing things that triggered it, and I really like that idea that the companion can kind of step up and almost take over, because they basically, there's like a sort of alien computer dude who's like sending out all these signals to everyone to erase their history, and the Doctor is going to connect his brain with it and override it. And that was another funny line actually. It's like, wait, there's this thing that's powerful enough to send out all these signals all across the planet, and you're going to connect your brain to it? Aye, doesn't stand a chance. Like, that was a funny line.
Yeah.
But he tries it, he gets his ass kicked, and he goes back. And when he wakes up, he's tied up, and Bill's like, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to sacrifice myself to save," because she feels guilt, and quite rightly, because she kind of did this.
She did do this, yeah.
This was her.
Yeah.
So she's gone up to be the sacrificial lamb, and she goes to do it. But the memory, the sort of almost fake memory of her mother that she's made through all the photos, is actually what beats it, because they can't quite comprehend a fake memory.
Yeah, and this is where I can tell that this is Moffat's Doctor Who, because Moffat has this obsession with love being what wins the day. Like, so many of his stories are that, and I have no problem with that in general. I just feel that I'm a little bit sick of it being overused in his Doctor Who.
No, that's I can see that. I think this one worked for me because it was completely and utterly Bill. Like, I loved the fact that the theme kicked in when she started to, like, when because it always sort of kicks in when it starts to unravel. That was more of a Matt Smith thing, admittedly, because that theme is used very much as a, the moment where the Doctor's plan, like, comes clear. That's when it would kick in. And it was kind of like that here with his, but it was sort of built up to it, because he has a sort of slower building, and the horns, the brass comes in and all that. But I thought it was a really effective use, and I was quite chuffed that Bill kind of earned the theme in the scene, which is funny because the Doctor's just been having it randomly at really weird moments this season, for the most part.
Yeah. There was the short version of it as when the boat came in, and you had that really weird laugh that he did.
Oh yeah, because he's on the boat. He's almost at the front of the boat, like almost Titanic, laughing. Yeah. He's like, "Oh no, I can't just sneak back into the country. I'm going to ride a boat right into shore."
Yeah,
of thing.
Exactly. Because he can.
Yeah, of course he can. And that whole thing where he's pretending to be aligned, and it's all just a test to make sure Bill's actually not brainwashed. And obviously the whole time you're waiting for it to, like, they're not making the Doctor evil, and even if he is really with them, it's because it's part of a long game where he has to get their trust before he can do something.
And then he goes into the regeneration thing. I was like, what's going on? How are they getting out of this one? Like, what's the play here?
Do you know, I really wish that he almost actually did die and regenerate, right? Not
the surprise of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, not because I would have liked that, he dies because he turned into, like, an evil person and he aligned with the bad guys, but just the surprise of, we genuinely did not think there was a chance we were getting a new Doctor this episode. Just imagine if it just happened, and we were like, what the... And there was, like, 5 episodes left of the season, it's like...
Do you know what's crazy? That shot of the regeneration was in the very first episode. At the end of that, you get the coming on this season.
And you assume it's the finale.
And you assume it was the finale, which was weird because they told us that he was regenerating in the Christmas. So I was like, okay, maybe they're doing it this season.
Yeah.
And then that started up. I was like, so that's that. But it wasn't in last episode's next time. So I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Yeah, I really liked the opening chunks of this, actually. I liked seeing the society, Bill feeling guilty, talking to her mother, her banter with Nardole was pretty spot on. Like I said, a lot of funny lines.
Yeah, I love, like, they proper went all out on making it feel like this, really distraught society. Even like the family were all wearing the same clothes. They're that kind of drab green jumpsuits.
It was even quite heartwarming at the end, because after, like, everything's fixed and, like, Bill's like, maybe humanity will learn some lessons from this, and then Doctor, like, points out that no one even remember, like, it's been erased from their conscience almost. And even that was a funny line, because he's like, "Hey, awful hair."
Yeah.
So it's a fun.
Yeah, but again, that was another point, getting at the political nature of this episode. There's a few times where he talked about how humanity doesn't like learn its lessons. Like, I think he goes, "Oh yeah, like you." Yeah. No, there was one earlier. I think it was the scene where he was pretending to be evil. He was like, "Oh, you've had fascists before, and yet you still get it wrong."
As well.
And this was the same point, reaffirming that is like, it doesn't matter. Like, this time they just happened to forget because sci-fi. But the reality is, like...
Yeah, but even that's just... it's just an analogy for what actually happens.
Time goes on and we don't think about it. Then...
But it did lead to that really sweet moment between them that's really making them bond as a pair. Where she's like, "Well, why do you put up with this then?" He's like, "Well, I put up with the other 7 billion because there's one person like you." kind of thing. And it was a sweet moment, and it works. But obviously we sort of glossed over Missy, or the Master, in the box. I thought it was really weird. that her cell has windows. Like there's this big sciencey, fancy, fictiony box, door that's like super locked up, and then you go in and there's windows.
Time Lord technology.
Sure. Bollocks.
I have no other answer for you.
It's just, and obviously she's in that sort of cell in the middle as well. But I'm just saying, if you need the door there as well, then clearly you think it's a risk that she can get out of that part and into the main part. And if she can do that, then the windows.
Yeah, I don't think the windows are really there. I think they're just a projection, like to give the illusion of this is the room you're in. I think the point is because obviously we saw it from the outside when she was put into it, and it was just a box.
Okay, yeah, so it's bigger on the inside.
Bigger on the inside, yeah, that's why I said Time Lord technology.
Which speaking of, when was the last time we had an episode where you didn't see the TARDIS, even once?
No, it's a fair point.
Not once. Didn't even see it. It's mentioned, Nardole mentions finding these little gizmo in it, but that's about it.
Yeah, that is about it, you're right.
Never even see it. That's interesting. But I'm actually curious what they're doing here with Missy. This redemption thing. She's going cold turkey from being bad.
Yeah, and I assume that's where John Sims' master's going to come in and go and like remind her, you're going to be evil. It'll be like the Temptation.
Which could be a really fun redemption arc if she ends up fighting back and fights him.
Could be, because we're just expecting them to team up.
Yeah, we're expecting her to just be evil, but it would actually almost be a much more interesting plot and more fascinating if she actually does truly kind of redeem and fights back against the old version of the Master, and that ends up being this conflict at the end of the season.
Yeah, and it's one of those great things where it doesn't have to be permanent either. If you want to use her as a villain again, just go, next regeneration, she relapsed.
Alright, I mean, even that would ruin it a little bit, but what you could just do is say, it's an earlier regeneration, because, time travel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would ruin it, personally. I think, the relapse for me would work.
It would cheapen it. Do something and stick to it.
Nah, I don't know.
Nah, you're just making excuses for writers wanting to return things to the status quo. Bollocks.
Sure, but when it's a status quo I like, and, I have no problem with that.
How long has it been the status quo? Time to move on.
I mean, that's like saying
interesting things.
Well, no, that's like saying the Joker shouldn't be a villain for Batman. This is the Master and the Doctor are that's the equivalent pairing.
The Joker cannot be redeemed. He was. If they're telling me Missy, if they're telling me the Master can be redeemed, then fine, then do it, right? Or maybe it doesn't actually work. Maybe it fails, whatever. But if you're going to do it, then stick to it, because that's what takes balls.
I just don't agree it's necessary. I think I think it's fun for now to go down it, but I don't want that permanently. I want that villainous relationship to come back at some point.
Nah, make some new villains.
You can have both.
I'm just saying, have balls to actually stick with it. If you're going to do it, stick with it.
Nah, new showrunner. Do what they want. Just forget whatever Moffat does.
This is the problem with writing in all of movies and TV right now. We got to go back to the thing that people know and like.
That's not like I don't want everything to be the same. I just is there a problem going? This is the arch enemy that I want to have that villainous relationship with. I don't think there's something wrong with that.
These arch enemies, the Daleks.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument for the Daleks. You make an argument for the Master. You can make an argument for Cybermen if you really wanted.
No, you can't. The Daleks are clearly better than Cybermen. Let's not beat around the bush here.
I happen to agree with that.
But if you're telling me the Master can be redeemed, and maybe he can, maybe it's going to fail. Maybe she'll get close and it'll be, no, I'm really an evil bastard and do.
Maybe they won't go down this route at all, really.
Maybe, but I'm just if they do it, it'll just feel a little bit cheap when they go back on it at some point. For me.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. But no, that was the conclusion of a pretty entertaining trilogy. It was definitely the time this season, the first time this season where it's felt like it's really had like a purpose, so it really had a goal. So this is a story we want to tell, and this has been the thing. Because up until then, as we've talked about, it was kind of typical Doctor Who, going through typical adventures.
I think it's going to be interesting going forward because, like I say, this had a focus. It had this 3-episode story to tell, and it was like, okay, it's got something to do.
And now we have this 5 left, if I'm correct in thinking.
I think this is what was this 7?
This was 8.
8. 4 then. I think there's only 12.
Only 12, alright, okay. Well, next week's looks kind of standalone. I wonder if then we'll at least get a two-parter for the end. You would
Yeah,
imagine
I
so.
don't think it's officially a 2-parter in term. I mean, again, this wasn't officially a 3-parter,
But it was.
You know, it was. But I just mean in terms of the naming sense. Typically, when they release all the names in advance, you go, "Oh, that's a 2-parter." But
Doesn't matter.
no, I agree.
Two-parter. Hell, arguably some shows are just 10-part episodes with their seasons. Doesn't mean they have to call them that.
No, it doesn't.
The only reason why we use it in this show like this is because a lot of the episodes are just completely standalone, so you have to differentiate. But
Yeah.
no, but so obviously I think Master and Missy are going to be what's the end game is.
Yeah, actually, on that note, I thought it was very interesting that the opening of this episode, the bit with Bill and Nardole going to the doctor, that adventure part, it felt very much like the bit where the Master was there with Martha, and she goes off around the world for that year.
Ah, yeah, I recall.
Now, we never see that. We see it all from the Doctor's perspective. But this felt like, what if we saw the other side? Like the resistance sort of thing. That's what this journey part felt like this was going to be. I thought it was interesting they did that, obviously, in the episode where they had...
It's funny, I actually really like Season 3 of Doctor Who.
But I like Season 3, I just hate Martha.
I don't hate Martha, I like Martha well enough.
I think she's boring.
My only complaint about it was that bit, that montage of like her travelling the world. It just felt super cheap to me. It's like, oh, she's just traveling the world now. They just snap of the fingers.
Well, yeah, I get. For me, I guess the point that wasn't the story that they were telling. It was this other bit. That's just the stuff they needed.
Sometimes Doctor Who can pull out these really easy fixes for things, and this shouldn't be. Traveling around the world and convincing people who the Doctor is shouldn't be easy. It's just one of these ideas that just gets thrown out there, and it just feels.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like it didn't have any weight to it. But I otherwise really like that season, actually. So I can't complain.
Forgot to mention, for me, the funniest part of this episode.
Was it the soldier who forgot
yes,
to put his gun, put blanks in his gun?
Yeah. He goes, they're all got blanks in. And that guy just looks down really sheepishly. And he's like, did you forget?
Well, that would have ruined the plan, wouldn't it?
It cracked me up.
Dear. Then Missy telling the story about when she encountered the monks, like, oh yeah, I found the link. Wee lassie, put her on a volcano.
Yeah. This was a lot of fun. I am looking forward to next week. Ice Warriors are back. Haven't seen them in a while, so that should be fun. But and like I say, I'm interested to see if it has focus and direction, or if it is just
A
an
standalone
adventure.
romp, yeah. Before we
I feel
get
like
to
this
the
next
endgame.
one might be a standalone romp.
It could be a standalone. Then we get another trilogy to end
Yeah.
the season. I could see it being that way.
Mm.
But okay, there you go. That's this week's Doctor Who. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out. Get us on Patreon at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. See some of the bonuses over there if you want to support the channel. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much for watching. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. We'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?